Psychology facts. Understanding female sexual satisfaction and penetration. Preferences when it comes to human sexuality, the truth is far more complex than the viral claims we often see online. One such claim suggests that most women, around 88%, love penetration. But what does real psychological and scientific research actually reveal? What research shows about female enjoyment studies in human sexuality consistently highlight that a large majority of women do report finding pleasure in penetrative sex. For example, the National Survey of Sexual Health and Behavior found that more than 80% of women experience physical satisfaction from vaginal penetration, but only when emotional. Physical and contextual factors align, so penetration in itself is not the magic key. The true experience of pleasure depends on much more than physical contact alone. The role of arousal and readiness, unlike male arousal, which can often be triggered rapidly, female arousal is gradual and layered. Penetration is most enjoyable when a woman feels physically ready, mentally relaxed, and emotionally safe. Foreplay, trust, and emotional closeness are often the difference between discomfort and deep satisfaction. The psychological dimension from a psychological perspective, women tend to enjoy penetrative sex more when they feel desired, respected, and emotionally connected to their partner. Emotional intimacy activates the brain's reward system, while the release of oxytocin during close contact strengthens bonding and intensifies physical pleasure. Clitoral stimulation and orgasm. Another crucial piece of the puzzle is the role of the clitoris. Research, including surveys from the Kinsey Institute, shows that while penetration can be highly enjoyable, many women need clitoral stimulation to reach orgasm consistently. In fact, combining penetration with external stimulation significantly increases satisfaction for the majority of women. Clearing up misconceptions. The phrase "penetration's in there" that floats around in memes and viral posts is vague and misleading. Scientifically speaking, the focus should not be on the act alone, but on the entire sexual experience, one that involves respect, communication, arousal, and emotional safety. Final thought, yes, many women truly enjoy penetration, but it's never just about the physical act. Pleasure is the product of mind, body, and emotional connection working together. Psychology makes it clear. Technique matters, but understanding, trust, and intimacy often matter even more. Why emotional safety shapes physical satisfaction. One of the most overlooked truths in sexuality is that the female body responds differently when the mind feels unsafe. A woman may be physically attracted to her partner, but if she senses judgment, pressure, or emotional distance, her body often resists full arousal. This is why psychologists emphasize that emotional safety is not a luxury. It's a prerequisite for genuine pleasure. Think about it. If her nervous system is on guard, her body won't relax enough to fully enjoy penetration. But when trust is present, the brain signals release of feel-good chemicals, dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, that transform sex into a deeply bonding experience. Penetration versus connection. Many men assume that technique or size is the biggest factor in her satisfaction. But research paints a different picture. The truth is, penetration is amplified when paired with emotional closeness. Without connection, penetration risks becoming mechanical. With connection, even the simplest act can become electrifying. The gradual build of female arousal, unlike male arousal, which can ignite instantly. Female arousal is like a fire. It needs time, fuel, and attention. Studies show that foreplay is not just an optional warm-up, it's a biological necessity for most women. When she feels mentally engaged, physically stimulated, and emotionally understood, her arousal deepens, making penetration intensely pleasurable. Clitoral realities. Many men ignore. Here's the hard truth. Only a small percentage of women consistently orgasm from penetration alone. Most require clitoral stimulation, whether directly, indirectly, or in combination with penetration. This doesn't mean penetration isn't enjoyable. It simply means her body is wired in a way that values both internal and external stimulation. Those who understand this unlock a far richer level of intimacy. Cultural myths versus scientific facts. Viral posts and locker room conversations often oversimplify female sexuality, reducing it to numbers or exaggerated claims. 88% enjoy penetration. Most women want only one thing. These sweeping statements miss the bigger picture. Science reveals that pleasure is highly personal, shaped by biology, psychology, past experiences, and current context. Why this matters for men seeking mastery. The lesson here is clear. Don't chase myths, study realities. Female satisfaction is not about one move, one size, or one statistic. It's about reading emotional cues, building trust, and creating conditions where her body and mind can work together. That's where real intimacy thrives. The hidden psychology behind female pleasure. Here's something most men overlook. For many women, the brain is the most important sexual organ. Penetration may stimulate the body, but her mental state determines how deeply she experiences it. If she feels desired, appreciated, and safe, her brain interprets the same physical act as far more pleasurable than if she feels objectified or disconnected. This explains why some women can describe identical physical encounters so differently, one as deeply satisfying, the other as unfulfilling. The difference wasn't technique alone, it was the psychological context. The role of hormones in satisfaction neuroscience gives us another clue. During intimacy, the hormone oxytocin floods the body when emotional closeness is present. This chemical doesn't just deepen bonding, it actually heightens physical pleasure. In other words, the more connected she feels, the more her body rewards her with sensations. On the flip side, if stress hormones like cortisol are active due to conflict, mistrust, or lack of emotional warmth, they suppress arousal. This is why women often say they just aren't in the mood when life feels chaotic. It's not an excuse. It's biology. Why penetration alone? Rarely guarantees. Orgasm penetrative sex has been glorified in media as the ultimate expression of intimacy. But reality tells a different story. Surveys, including those by the Kinsey Institute, reveal that while most women enjoy penetration, only a fraction reliably reach orgasm through it alone. The majority require external clitoral stimulation in addition to penetration. This doesn't diminish the role of penetration. It actually highlights how the combination of touch, rhythm, and emotional connection unlocks full satisfaction. The male illusion. Thinking it's all about size. Many men obsess over one question. Am I big enough? But here's the psychological trap. Research shows size matters far less than emotional presence and technique. A man who focuses only on his physical attributes misses the deeper truth. Women report more satisfaction with men who prioritize connection, patience, and responsiveness. Yes, penetration matters. But if you ignore the emotional and psychological elements, penetration becomes shallow, literally and figuratively. Why context is everything. Imagine two scenarios. A rushed encounter with no foreplay, little trust, and emotional distance. A slow build where she feels safe, adored, and fully aroused before penetration begins. The act is technically the same, but the experience is worlds apart. That's the hidden psychology behind female sexual satisfaction. Context amplifies penetration. Why men misunderstand female arousal. If the science is so clear, if studies repeatedly show that women need emotional safety, foreplay, and clitoral stimulation, then why do countless men still miss the mark? The answer lies in male psychology itself. Men are often conditioned to view sex through a performance-based lens. They measure their worth by endurance, size, or technique instead of connection. This performance trap blinds them to the very signals that women rely on for pleasure. The ego trap. Many men assume that if they achieve penetration, they've already succeeded. Their ego tells them, if I can enter her, she must be satisfied. But this couldn't be further from the truth. For women, penetration is often the beginning of pleasure, not the guarantee of it. The male ego craves validation through conquest, but the female psyche craves trust, intimacy, and rhythm. When a man prioritizes his ego over her experience, her body senses it and shuts down the very arousal he's trying to spark. The myth of dominance. Another blind spot is the cultural myth that women desire only dominance. While strength and confidence are undeniably attractive, true dominance in intimacy is not about force. It's about control over oneself. A man who rushes, ignores her cues, or treats her body like an object isn't dominant. He's insecure. Real dominance is patient, attentive, and deeply aware. It creates the space where she willingly surrenders to the experience, rather than feeling pressured into it. Psychological blind spots. Here's the deeper problem. Most men don't even realize they're failing. Why? Because many women fake pleasure to protect male egos. Studies reveal that a significant number of women admit to pretending orgasms, sometimes to avoid conflict, sometimes to end the encounter sooner, and sometimes because they feel guilty about disappointing their partner. This creates a vicious cycle. The man thinks his performance works, while she silently grows more detached. Over time, intimacy erodes, not because penetration doesn't matter, but because he never learned the psychology behind her pleasure. What she really responds to, here's the truth most men never hear. She doesn't just respond to penetration, she responds to presence. She doesn't just crave technique, she craves understanding. She doesn't just need physical readiness, she needs emotional safety. When those elements align, penetration becomes more than just physical. It becomes unforgettable, the cliffhanger. And yet, here's the paradox. Even when men know this information, many still repeat the same mistakes. They rush, they ignore, they let ego control the experience. But why? Why do men, even when armed with knowledge, keep sabotaging their own success in intimacy? The answer lies in an uncomfortable truth about male psychology, one that explains not only sexual failure, but also relationship breakdowns, emotional disconnection, and even betrayal.